Hello and welcome to Curdcast, the podcast for people who like to eat cheese. I'm your host, Jen Mason, and with me is my co-host, the lovely Julie Van Balzer. Hello, Julie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It finally looks like spring around here, so I'm feeling
Happy
happy.
brunch day. Yeah, the crocus are poking through here in the Northeast. I saw a bunch of daffodils. I'm currently, I mean, you know this, but to everybody who's listening in, I'm currently in a wheelchair because I decided to break my leg in Sicily, and I just got to roll down the street earlier this week, and there were like daffodils, and it was like every flower came out to say hello to me that I now able to leave my house in a wheelchair. So, anyway, those people who don't want to know about my broken leg, instead we can talk about cheese today. If you're new to the podcast, you should know that you can eat along with us any month. We do this podcast for every box, and we have two boxes actually a month. We have our original, our OG curd box, and this one, which is our curd box. Oh my goodness, curdboxFLEX. So this box is first, Curd Box is a cheese and pairing experience we deliver to your door. It's so you can stop eating boring. You get to try new foods every week. 3 cheeses, 3 pairings, and a podcast with us. So we're doing curdboxFLEX, and this theme is brunch o'clock because we've done a brunch themed, actually twice. We've done a brunch themed box for our OG, and it's one of the favorites. So we thought, just because you want a box that's gluten-free, nut-free, or vegetarian doesn't mean you shouldn't have brunch with us. So everybody sit in, and Julie and I are going to eat through the box, tell you what we think, tell you some stuff about the makers. And Julie, are you ready? Are you ready for a cheese brunch?
I am inhaling the scent of cheese and ready to rock.
So people sometimes ask us, and Julie's heard a lot of this, some of this, but it's always good to revisit, like, how do we come up with the idea for the boxes? So we knew we wanted to do a brunch box for our allergy-friendly box for curdboxFLEX. And when we think about a theme, we think about, like, well, what foods, even besides cheese, like what foods would fit into that category, and then we try to find the cheese version of that, or we try to find things like that pair. So for us, when we think about brunch, I think about coffee for sure. I think about bagels and like everything bagels. I think about honey. I think about cream cheese. I think about well, I usually have a cheesy brunch. I usually have something with eggs and cheese in it. I think about fruit. Um, and then I think about like maybe something sweet. Usually I'm a stickler for a nice pastry or something with a little, a croissant with a little chocolate in or something. So those are the things that are going through our minds. And then we go and find the cheeses and pairings that match that. So we're going to start today, and as we hit those notes, those things I was talking about, and then I keep turning to my side here so I can make sure I'm reading the right notes here. We're going to start out with the honey part of this. And the thing that I think of as sort of the cheese, the fancy cheese lovers cream cheese. A great substitute instead would be a Chev. So we're going to start with the Vermont Creamery. This is a clover blossom Chev. So it's like a regular goat's milk cheese, but has honey added to it. And to me, it very much has that flavor of the really rich, kind of expensive when you get like a fancy honey cream cheese or something like that. It's really full bodied. That honey taste really comes through. I love it.
It's so good. And sometimes I feel like things that say they're going to taste like honey, I'm always kind of like, where's the honey?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the flavor isn't strong enough. It doesn't come through enough. But this really is a beautiful mixture between the honey and the goat cheese. And like, it's not a super goaty goat.
Yeah, it isn't.
You can say
It
that. It's very
definitely isn't.
mild and so creamy and delicious. Like, I feel like this is a dessert cheese. Like, I would totally see, I mean, talk about cheesecake, but this has that kind of feeling where you feel like you could eat it, as a kind of dessert thing.
Yeah. And this one kind of reminds me of like the place cheese Danish would take in my life, because it's got that nice cheesy flavor, but it's cheese Danish is always sweet, right? They're always, a little on the sure this is breakfast, but I'm pretty sure I'd also call it dessert. And this is made by Vermont Creamery. Allison Hooper is, we've talked about her before, is the woman who started Vermont Creamery. And she learned how to make cheese. I think this is a fact we haven't shared before. She learned how to make cheese during a summer internship on a farm in Brittany, France in 1980. Some, we talk sometimes about commodity cheeses, like big companies like Kraft or whatever making cheese, and little artisan. And Vermont Creamery sort of splits the line there, because they are actually now owned by Land O'Lakes, but it started out as an artisan farm. And the reason Land O'Lakes purchased it, I'm sure there are a number of reasons. One, it was a great, successful company, was for them to sort of have a foot in the artisanal food world and to help make artisanal cheeses, a little more accessible. They made a fantastic product. When you make a fantastic product, you have to be able to scale. So anyways, the nice thing I like about our box is we can tell you about these companies to look out for. So I highly recommend Vermont Creamery products. You can find them here and there, but people sometimes don't think about looking for them. They make mascarpone. They make quark, which is kind of a mix between like a cream cheese and a sour cream, somewhere in between there. You can get creme fraiche, but I really, really like their chev. I mean, they're known for their chev, and this is going to play nice with anything you want it to. And if you like had some of this and you had like a really spicy pepper jam, which just our theme today, that over this, the sweetness and the hot pepper would totally, they would be so happy together. And in fact, that could be like great on a bagel too with the hot pepper. Anyway, so beautiful Vermont honey chev. This is a goat's milk. Comes from Vermont, if the name didn't give it away. But the next cheese we want to try is the Black Knight Tilsit. So this is Julie, the one without this had the black wax rind, but not the food rind, the edible rind. So
I'm going to guess this is in our flexible and friendly category based on how it wobbles.
Very good. Pretty soon you can do the podcast by yourself. So you're right. And we've had this one before in the OG box. This is a young cheese. It's just 2 months old. And it comes from Austria. Basically, it's named after a town in Prussia. There were a bunch of Dutch immigrants living in Prussia, and they were homesick for Gouda, and they tried to make it and they couldn't. So they created this cheese instead. But I do see like some resemblance between this and a very young Gouda. And then they started making Tilsit in Poland, Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, and Denmark. In the 60s, so that's a while ago, in the 60s, Denmark renamed their Tilsit to Havarti to be able to market and give it a competitive edge over Tilsit. So essentially, Tilsit and Havarti. So if you've had a Havarti, and a lot of us have had like a dill Havarti or something like that, this is the same kind of cheese, and it's friendly. It's going to be. I don't think of Brunch as, well, I guess you could have huevos rancheros, but I don't think of it as like an incredibly umami or really, really spicy or really like it doesn't. It Brunch is like this happy comfort place for me, at least. It's
that's so funny.
Sweets, it's thick.
I always have brunch with a bottle of Cholula. Like,
do you? Well, so yes,
yeah,
I would put that on there, but like, I wouldn't have buffalo wings for brunch. I'd save that for lunch. But I am a hot sauce on my eggs, but I mean, overall, the whole meal wouldn't be like big and spicy or super tangy. Like I don't have pickles usually for brunch. I have that for lunch. I don't know. But I do think of brunch as like comfort food. So for me, it's, French toast, and it's eggs and potatoes and I don't know, all sorts of things. So the nice thing about Tilsit, and sort of the reason we picked it, is because it was a good, very approachable cheese and very flexible, not just in that it's really soft, like you were showing a second ago, but also because it will pair nicely with anything we want to put with it. And it's good without having, it doesn't have to stand out to stand up to the plate. So that's what we picked that one, because our other two cheeses I think are a lot more, they need to hold their own, and so sometimes somebody has to step back so that the other cheeses can hold their
Although
own.
this isn't like, this is a friendly cheese, but I don't think I would call it like flavorless. Like it's not like just
Right.
like a block of wax or anything. Like it definitely has, to me, the kind of like punch that cheddar has sometimes.
Right.
And I will tell you that. So after I cut off my pieces of cheese, I asked my family if any of them wanted to try it. And my 2-year-old was 100% into this cheese, gobbling it down.
Excellent.
So I think, like, again, it's friendly, but he is a little weird and snooty about cheese. Like he won't go near the baby bell and stuff. So he definitely liked it.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to see, and you can tell him Auntie Jen will make sure he gets some more. Okay, so we can move on to our third cheese here, and it kind of finishes our cheese story. So I hope, and I forgot to tell you this, I hope you left the rind on yours.
I did.
Okay, good. So
I've done enough curd cast now that I was like, this rind looks like it's probably edible, and Jen will make me eat it.
So give it a smell. Give the rind a smell. Don't stick it into your nose, just near your nose. So this is barely buzzed, and this is got an espresso and lavender rind on it. And then what I want you to do is make sure you get a bite with the with some of the rind on it. So we think this reminds us of a wood-fired pizza crust. I'm wondering if you can taste that. It's sort of like the, if you can think about a pizza like that's come out, it has a little bit of char on it and stuff. For me, you get a lot of that. We didn't pair this with a tomato jam, but if you pair it with a tomato jam,
that would be lovely.
It's like a bite of pizza, which is funny because you wouldn't think coffee, lavender, and tomato jam.
It's interesting. I don't really taste, I mean, now that you say the pizza thing, like I kind of get it and I kind of feel it. But for me, when I take the bite with the rind, I taste the lavender first. That's
really
like the number one thing that I taste without question. When I have a piece of it without the rind, then I taste the coffee first. And maybe that's because of the way that, like, I mean, obviously people are listening, but people who are watching this on YouTube can probably see like the way that the rind kind of gets into the cheese when you cut it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It may be that it distributed and like the bite that I had a little bit of like coffee on it as opposed to like a concentration of lavender or something that I ran into, because I can even see color wise. Let's see if I can get this close enough, that like this is two-tone. And it may be that I took a bite towards one side or the other. But I mean, that's kind of the fun of it too, is that you get a little something different in every bite.
Exactly. So, really interesting. And I am not a big coffee drinker, as in I don't drink coffee. So I'm a very small coffee drinker. And I love this cheese. This is one of my favorites. This is one of my daughter's favorites. Sorry, again, losing those headphones. I'm going to glue those in. She's actually the one who was like, this tastes like pizza crust. And ever since then, we've been pairing it with, at our store, with tomato jam so that people can taste our bite of pizza without any pizza in it. So, and this is made by Barely Buzz. It is called Barely Buzz. It's made by Beehive Cheese. It's again, we've had them in our box before, both the Flex box and Curd box, because they make a lot of really delicious cheeses. They actually make one cheddar and they treat it in a bunch of different ways so that they all taste like different cheeses, and it's really fantastic. And it's usually that they just rub the outside with something, and that alone can affect a cheese. They're out of Utah, Ogden, Utah, and this has been so this won a silver medal in 2018 in the World Cheese Awards, and it's won first place in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2011, 2015. And they don't necessarily enter it every year, but like everybody doesn't enter their cheeses every year, but it is won first place 5 times. And a silver in the world cheese is a big deal. It's a really fun cheese. It's a really fun for pairing. And it always is a fun one to put on a cheese board when you have people coming over, because people will talk about it. So it's it's a good favorite.
Yeah, so
So,
Steve couldn't stop eating this one. So
oh,
the
really?
baby chose
That's
the other one.
great.
Steve chose this
Ah,
one.
nice. I'm glad they left some so you could do the
Right? I was like,
podcast
you
with
guys,
us.
that's why the rule in this house is mommy cuts her portion first, then everybody can dive on it.
I love it. It's perfect. Okay. So now we're going to dive into our pairings. Those of you listening along, now we'll eat the pairings, and then Julie and I will have a little playtime by mixing and matching things up. And I'm actually didn't grab a. Oh wait, I have a little spoon. I have a little spoon right behind me.
You would probably have a lot of little spoons.
I put it in. I thought I'd try a decorative thing. I have like a little soup spoon here to hold it on the whole thing, but I don't want to put all of that in my mouth. So this is one of my favorite apricot jams. So when we're putting together curdboxFLEX, which is a newer collection for us,
Oh, so good.
I wanted to get this one in. This was like no brainer. This is going in the lineup. And our curdboxFLEX, the difference between curdbox and curdboxFLEX, people listening in, is that besides that it's very allergy friendly, being flex being gluten-free, nut-free, and meat-free, but still like a really, really fantastic experience. Because it's a little more difficult to create a cheese board like this with the products that we need to make sure are all those three things and have them feel like you're not missing anything. You should not feel like this is gluten-free, nut-free, vegetarian. You should just feel like this is a gourmet cheese
Delicious.
collection you're trying. So one of the differences that we have, as of this point, we only have 6 different flex boxes. So if you subscribe for a whole year, you would repeat these. And this apricot jam. The whole reason I'm bringing this up is this apricot jam would be the thing that I was most excited to get the second time, because I would be out of it and I'd be like, I need this jam. So anyways, beautiful jam. This is a jam by Dalmatia. It's made in Croatia. They use first class organic fruit. I mean, you can kind of just taste it. They actually this company works to support regional agriculture in northern and eastern Croatia, Serbia, Macedonia, coastal Dalmatia, and other Mediterranean regions. So they're really they're doing some really interesting things with food that taste delicious. And so you've gotta they say happy cows make happy cheese. I think, happy apricots make happy jam, and their other products are fantastic as well. So, but this is one of my absolute favorites to include on a board, on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm telling you, it's a nice thing. There's a big jar of this in the box.
I can definitely see it
Because,
with like my yogurt in the morning and stuff. Like it
oh yeah,
really has a ton of flavor. It's
yeah,
not just sugar and pectin.
yeah. And apricots are like a traditional thing. Usually when you go to a restaurant and get sort of a generic cheese board, they're dried apricots are usually on it. We like to think like one step further than what you normally get. And so for us, the apricot jam, which is one, easier to chew, because sometimes those apricots are so chewy, but we can use it in so many more ways. And it's really fantastic. So we're loving those. And then I think we should talk about our crackers. So we wanted an everything cracker, again, that was gluten-free. And so we grabbed these guys. So these are a really nice crunchy cracker. They're everything. So like, remind me of my bagels, but they're carrot crackers. So this company is called Seconds, and it's sort of in like they're helping to reduce food waste. They're based out of New York City. So like if a company is making juices like out of carrots and they're using it to make juices or spirals or sticks, there's always the pulp or the waste that comes out of that is just what's left over or what's not needed. And they take those items and basically they dehydrate it and turn it into a flour, and then they can use it, and it's just as great as any other part of the carrot. So really interesting concept. I love that they're like, so I have one that broke in half and you can see all the stuff that's in it. It's like a nice smooth outside, but They're a beautiful cracker too, and not weirdly
It really
orange.
tastes like carrot though. Like it doesn't really like I was expecting it to taste like a carrot, but it doesn't really. It just tastes like a cracker.
Right. It tastes like a cracker with a lot of like, I want to say a lot of ingredients in it, like a lot of flavor. It's not a dull cracker, but it's not overwhelming like, oh no, this is spicy and it just purely tastes like spicy. I think it will go with anything. It's like a very flavorful neutral.
Yeah, it has a
For
lot of
lack of a
texture too, like
hmm
seeds and like
hmm
you know what I mean in it.
Yep. It's a really beautiful cracker, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, I have goat cheese on this bite here. And my camera's making it look a little green. It's not quite as green as that's making it look. But so there's our everything bagel. And then to finish up, we have our quinoa crisps. So this is like my ultimate treat. This is just quinoa and blueberries, and it happens to have some chocolate on it.
Oh.
And some of right, some of our
Mm.
people have blueberry, and some have pomegranate. Um,
Oh my God, that's good.
so this is from Undercover Snacks. They're based in New Jersey. Diana, the woman who started this, she actually started Undercover Chocolate Company, and she was making chocolates, and she realized she was like keeping her family from eating the chocolates, and people would have one and really liked it, but they were trying not to like eat too many. Like, so she's like, I need to find something that's like a healthier version to be that has just enough of the chocolate. I feel decadent, but isn't like me eating full out chocolate. And so she created these, or she was working on creating these, and then two of her daughters ended up being diagnosed with celiac disease. So she was bound and determined to figure out a way to make something that was chocolate covered, that was healthier, and that her girls could eat. And she came up with this organic crunchy quinoa and chocolate. She figured out a couple flavors. So this is I think you and I both have a blueberry. There's a pomegranate, which is really great as well. It is fun. It's kind of like a mini Rice Krispie
Oh my God,
chocolate.
totally. I was gonna say that. It's so Rice Krispie.
Yeah, it's really fun. It feels very decadent, but then you also go, but it's just quinoa, so it's not bad. Yeah, and so she's been making this, and she started sort of doing it out of a commercial kitchen. For those of you who don't know, I'm pretty plugged into the like food scene here in Boston, so I've learned a lot of stuff. And a lot of people will start their companies out at a commercial kitchen because they only need to make, you know, 16 dozen things of jam at a time, and they don't need to make 1600 things of jam at a time. And so there's this time when you're starting where you can work out of a commercial kitchen. You have shared space, you only need it 3 of the days of the week or something like that. So she started it in a process like that, and then when it was time to go big, usually people will move to what's called a co-packer, which is a deceptive name because they actually make the product and pack it for you. And then it can move on either to your warehouses, or you can have somebody that helps you fulfill it out of their warehouses. Small insiders on the food system here. And they chose to not get a co-packer, and instead build a facility for themselves. And then because it was already gluten-free and nut-free and vegetarian, they decided to have an entire, to make the entire process, the entire um, warehouse facility where they make this is also, it's kosher, and I think it's soy free, and it's a great space that can do these products. And they decided to make it, make sure the space was peanut free, because as a mom of somebody who was already dealing with having to like adjust and try to find a gluten-free for her daughters, she wanted to help the moms of kids who have nut allergies to have something as well. And chocolate is especially a difficult one, because even if you find a product that doesn't have nuts in it, it might have been made in a facility that has nuts. So it's super fantastic, but it's also delicious. So I like that there's a crunch to it. It's another texture we have. It's a different crunch than the crackers, and it goes with everything else. And I don't know if I think the cheeses will be lovely with this, but I also just think like this is like every fifth bite, I just want to have some of these. So it's a fun box. It does feel like some things call for like pair me and eat me together. Obviously, the jam should be poured on everything, but I just love this little bit of chocolate and blueberries for this. So it sounds like you dig it. You dig the
I
chocolate
love it.
blueberry.
Delicious.
Yeah. It's really fantastic. So let's try pairing some things together here and see what if you've got any favorites. I cannot wait to have the Chev with the jam. That's what I'm going for first.
I'm going Chev with the chocolate cookie.
Nice. Oh, I also think these cookies could be broken up and pushed into like the bottom of a tart, like an ice cream tart, and be like the crunchy base of a ice cream cake or something.
That is super nice. Yum. Delicious. Okay, I'm now dipping the, what was the first cheese called again? The Fit and Flexible one?
Tilsit.
I'm dipping that one into the jam, and let's see how that goes.
I mean, I just dipped my finger into the jam.
Right?
It's got a nice, the sour kick, the sort of bright, sort of sour creaminess of the cheese with that sweet over it. Gives you this like sort of sweet and sour. Like, so the jam is really sweet, but not too sweet, but it's sweet. It's a sweet jam.
Sweet.
And it's nice to have something that breaks up that sweet. It actually makes you can taste maybe more apricot. You can get more of the rest of the flavor of the jam beyond the sweet when you add something with it. All right. Well, I have to.
This is definitely a box where everything plays well together. Yeah. Like, mixed a little bit of this, a little of that. I've done all the cheeses with the jam. Delicious. I've done cracker with this, mixed the chocolate in. Like, this is just, everything's good with everything. And it all, you like when you eat the jam with anything, it brings out the creaminess of the other thing. The cracker totally changes, the way that it feels because it makes it like you're kind of actually really chewing through it. You know what I mean?
The barely buzzed with the cookie, with the quinoa crisp.
Well, that makes sense.
Really good. Yeah.
Chocolate.
Yeah. It's a mocha bite.
I don't think we're going to have a lot of bad bites here. This box is so delicious. I love everything about it. Good job, Jen.
I'm glad you loved it. I hope everybody else loved it. For those of you who are listening in, you can't get this box, but you can get our next one. But what I would say is if you want to try something like this, one, you can go onto our website and see what the products are.
They can get this one if they subscribe for a year because it will repeat.
Oh my gosh, you're a genius. So this will be again in 6 months. And so that's perfect. Yes, you can definitely do that. So actually, yeah, if you subscribe this month that you'd be watching this in, and you do a 6-month subscription, you'll get it. But look at our online. We tell you what's in there. Think about things that are crunchy like the quinoa. Think about mixing your cheeses up. Definitely try, if you're doing a brunch one, try some kind of a Chev. There's herb ones, there's garlic ones. You can go, more savory. If you wanted to go more savory, you could still do something like the apricot jam, or you could do like a tomato jam or like the red pepper jam if you want to go like more sort of Mexican inspired and do maybe like tortilla chips, which I know you can get gluten-free. So lots of fun stuff you could mix and match. Use this as your base and then just find something similar to it and try it again in another flavor. So, and that's great advice too for our people who actually get this. We want you to try new things. That's why we created this box, so that you now have the power, the ideas to go out and try like one of these foods, a new food like this food. We just put the same thing in our shopping cart every week. I am just as guilty, especially all during COVID. I was just like, get in and out of that grocery store as fast as I can. And so, visit your local cheese store, tell them which cheese you liked or which cheese we talked about. They can give you something similar. If they can't give you the exact same cheese, try it out. Share it with a friend. Send it to Julie and I will eat with you. Anyway, Julie, thank you so much for joining me for this box. I'm so glad you liked it. As always, I love having brunch with you in person and virtually. And we'll see everybody next month. check us out at curdbox.com. And until next month, we'll say goodbye. Bye, Julie.
Bye.